Emirates with Love, the journey of homegrown brands. Let me introduce you to our panelists. We have Nadia Shah, owner and CEO of Drip Burgers, Chef Ali Yazdi, founder Slaw, House of Slaw, Slaw and More, lots and lots of slaw. I love it. Amar Hanifa, a managing partner, Swift Food Investments, and your moderator for this session is Akhilesh Bal, founder and CEO of Malt and Salt Hospitality. Please welcome them to the stage. Let's give a nice big round of applause. I don't mind a few whips as well. Yay! That's what we like.
Okay, homegrown brands. We've got 3 lovely homegrown concepts. I want to get into the understanding the what and the why. So basically your story. Why are you in it? Why did you do what you did? Of course, we'll get into details and technicals of, why the menu and why the cuisine and sustainability at your end, which you're doing great at. I checked out the website, by the way. I've got to do some bit of research before I come, right? And send you the notes. But yeah, really, the what and the why, the story, why the brand. I've not tried the food, but the menu looks amazing. So you go first.
Yeah, okay. So it was interesting how it ended up coming about. I actually come from a long background of F&B, and my father actually started a burger brand when he was in his 20s back in Ireland, way back in the day, but I didn't make the connection until somebody asked me maybe 2 years ago if I saw any connection, and then that came up. So he actually had a kind of a fast food burger chain. It was his first thing that he started in F&B, and it was 12 years ago. So he's a serial entrepreneur. After doing burgers, he did Indian restaurants, which won awards. He did steakhouses, and then eventually he kind of trickled on into hospitality, so hotels, and then moved to Dubai and built a hotel apartment chain over here called Grand Midwest. And I was working as the general manager for the chain for quite some time. And I also have a fine art background. So when COVID happened, we moved a lot of our business back to Ireland, and that meant kind of what I was doing went on pause, a lot of our projects. And I was planning on starting up a business in Bali at the time with a friend of mine, because I always wanted to do something on my own. And when Bali hit, we couldn't continue to go to Bali, so I was kind of stuck here thinking, well, I can't work on the projects in Ireland, and I can't really do anything in Bali, so I'll just have to start here. So I was going around Mall of Emirates at the time, and I was looking to bring one of the concepts I'd created for Ireland, which is a cheese steak concept. And it's in one of the malls there. And I was planning on opening it here in Mall of Emirates. And when I looked around at the offerings in the smaller food court, I just saw that there was nothing there for me to eat. I think at the time there was a burger brand on the edge that had closed. Does anyone remember what that one was? One of the Emirates? Yeah, I've forgotten the name, but they came and they opened and they left. Freddy's? Yeah. Freddy's opened and then they closed down really quick. Yes, exactly. And then I looked around and I said, well, I can't eat McDonald's. I don't eat any of these things. What am I going to eat? And I think pickle had just kind of soon after that come on the scene. And there was a whole explosion of burgers previously before that in Dubai. Elevation Burger, Salt. And to be honest, I still didn't see that those were really my options. And my takeaway from that mall was, where is something that I can eat that I can enjoy that's I know the ingredients that are inside it. I'm comfortable to eat it. It's fast food, but it's good food. So I don't feel any guilt towards it. And also something that caters for someone else other than there's plastic cheese on every burger. There is ingredients that you don't know anything about. There is, for me, it's not really a food that you can openly enjoy. And everything is American and processed or a British kind of style. So where is the option for someone like me who is also multicultural and mixed and has a multicultural family, something with a bit of flavor or a little bit different in terms of a burger? So that's kind of where I started exploring different options for burgers. And the concept was the taste of Dubai between 2 buns. So I started exploring Turkish kebab restaurants and tasting all of their food and understanding the different ingredients and the different ways that I could make amazing options. Because when you come to Dubai, you expect expand your palette of food. For me, coming from Ireland, I really expanded my palette here because everyone here is from all over the world, so you really explore. And then also, as well as that, one night I had a dream, and I woke up, and for some reason I saw the logo, and I thought to myself, oh, that's really interesting, drip, I should write it down. And I was about to go back to sleep, and I said, no, wait, I will write it down. So I took out my notes, and I hand drew on my phone the logo for drip, and I kept it and closed it, and it's still in my notes today, so that's kind of where it started from. And then I said...
and it looks very cool. It does.
I've changed the logo now from the original one because apparently it's not as easily legible for operational purposes, but that's kind of how the vision started. Okay. Yeah.
So you're going to stick with burgers, or we'll come back to that, but just, I'm reading and hearing a steak thing coming in the future and a few more things in the pipeline. So, yeah. Amar, can I jump to you? Swift.
Absolutely.
Swift. So is it as swift, and what's happening under the
Well,
umbrella
we try
of
to
Swift?
be. So, just a short background of me and my partner, Abdullah Al-Khaja. So we are childhood friends. We know each other since grade 5. And just like any typical young friends, we always tend to go to food and try things out. And we always have. So technically, you could say we were the offline food bloggers before the social media. With that being said, of course, life drifted us apart with our family business. So my family business is Al Bayadr International, which is a food packaging company dedicates to and caters to a lot of different food brands, which what made me excited to work there as well as experience, as well as in terms of networking. And from his background, his family business is into medical equipment. So just like any other individual, life took us where it had to take us. But we always had that kind of passion for food, and it always remained as is. So we decided to move forward and experiment with F&B as a business, not just as a consumer. And that's where we got an American franchise known as Chicken Cone. It was a pleasant experience. We have opened 7 stores. We have lasted for around 4 years, and that's where we decided, okay, it's time to move forward and take this very seriously. And that's where the new brand, which is like around 4 months ago, we have launched it, known as Chicago Beach. So with Chicago Beach...
Fried chicken.
Chicago Beach is purely, you could say, in short, is a local homegrown QSR dedicated to the chicken cuisine, correct?
Working on food truck models, I see.
So currently, yeah, we have 2 food truck locations, okay. But right now in Dubai, we're focusing on that kind of aggressive scalability, and that's why we are just expanding through cloud kitchens for the time being, yeah.
So Swift is an investment company wherein you've created this brand, which is a homegrown in-house brand, and you've got 2 trucks now, and obviously the scalability model kicks in. Focusing purely only on fried chicken for now, or there are other things coming in the anvil?
For the time being, we're focusing on chicken.
Okay.
But we have few surprises coming down the line.
Okay. Watch that space. We'll come back. Chef, I wanted to come to you in the end.
Okay.
Prime time. It's your story.
Well, my story is a little different. I'm a biomedical engineer. Maybe some know and some don't. I'm a biomedical engineer by my degrees, but I
turned chef.
Making burgers for a living. Well, it's
feeding or eating.
Well, I used to. People who know me, I had lost half of my size. But I love food always in my life, and I used to be a big-time foodie. That's the reason I didn't like to continue my degree, which is biomedical engineer. And well, I'm cooking from 14, professionally from 18. I had lots of other restaurants before my flagship brand, which I have it right now. I had lots of several failures. I opened different locations and different reasons of failure, location-wise, customers, flavors, and so on. And what I feel that every time people's idea behind the burgers is it's a fast food, it's a bad food. But it's not true. Sometimes I say to everyone, my food is even better than your house foods, because the way we take care of our oil, our beef, our chicken. And then what I don't like in most of the restaurants out there are they use frozen, like the chicken breast or tenderized, which is tenderized is also another frozen one for people who don't know. So, and it's not healthy. And I said, why don't I bring something that my parents, which are at the age of 65 plus, they can enjoy eating, and I feel safe to let them have it without any fear of like the end result. So it was at the COVID that me and my partners decided to open a restaurant, which is, we wanted to make it very bold, very strong, with the visions of like Western, like a European, like London and US design, the team, and give a good food. And we promise ourselves to never compromise on quality, regardless of how much the prices go up. So we reduce our profit margin to the least as possible to increase the quality and quantity of our food. So we started with 7 staff. We are more than 250 staff at this moment. We have 7 branches, and recently I opened, and we are multi-award winning burger joint. And we opened recently the first ever premium burger boutique in the Middle East. Because that's the reason, because most of the burger joints, which they use a Wagyu, they don't use real Wagyu. They use something called Wagyu trimmings. No insult to anyone, but it's a part. But we specialize in Wagyu ribeye dry aged patties. So we dry age our burgers, the ribeyes, and then we mince and make it burgers. So it's a burger, the bougiest burger you can ever have, with the finest of fine ingredients. And that also, thankfully, with the blessing of God, we got awarded as the best burger in Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I'm moving forward. And soon we are signing a deal with the UK and Canada for franchising it.
Are you going to fly out?
Well, yeah.
Stay here. Listen, I'm going to jump a few questions, but I think we're talking food more. We're talking the quality of your ingredients and why you're using certain products. There's a similarity I see. Everything was around the COVID, post-COVID sort of a scenario where you felt you wanted to do this. Now, you're in a highly cluttered space as a product, or as the element of cuisine that you've got into. Was that a conscious decision saying, hey, let me do a fried chicken, let me do a burger? Or you felt, like you said, or your story where you said that you wanted to bring out a difference of pure ingredients, or your parents can eat, or you feel healthy about eating, sustainability or not. It's also about what we consume and how we prepare the food. Was there a gap that you saw, or was it just because burgers was the best thing that came to mind and you got it and you jumped into it? I'll go back to you, Chef.
Well, burgers is a very saturated market. It's massively packed, like from the
your store, drive left,
around
right.
35 brand in a 10-kilometer zone. There are 35 burger spots,
And 5 opening and 10 closing.
Exactly. But the thing is that all of them copy each other. Like they only like add mayonnaise, ketchup, and just make a sauces, and that's all. They don't really understand it. And lots of people, they don't know, like the burger is not only just a beef and a bun and that's all. No, it's the elements, the way you assemble them. It's an art. Like for the first bite you give, what you feel at the start. You feel the sauces, the pickle, which is overpowering, which is lesser, what's the cheese. Yeah, what's a balance? So we all perfected this. And then maybe some of the guests don't know this, that Dubai have more than 15,000 restaurants. So you're basically like, let's say, in a war zone to whoever takes the market. So, and I will say, you don't need to be the first in the market, but you can be the best in the market. So that's the key point I put in my life, in my goal, and then I work towards that.
And customers come back. That's why you get the awards.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Fried chicken, is it the best one that I'll ever eat?
So, to answer your question, definitely. And no, it's not a biased answer. So, just stepping a bit back, the reason why we have chosen fried chicken for a QSR and understanding the gap that exists in the market is we have understood that currently you either have homegrown brands that serve at a premium price for the premium quality. And then you've got the, let's say, the international brands that are serving, let's say, mediocre ingredients, very standardized, but you get the value for it with the pricing. And that's where we decided to step in. That's the gap that we wanted to tackle. We wanted to be the first homegrown brand into the QSR that can serve such a quality. And echoing what Ali just mentioned, is that here ingredients are extremely important. And with international brands, a lot of these international brands, they are bringing things from overseas according to the agreement, and they are getting it as finished products. And here they continue with the processing. But in our case, we fully understand what ingredients we're bringing to the table, what we are assembling, who are these local producers are, and how things are from A to Z processed. Where even if a customer decides to have a better understanding, at least we have an answer. And that's why we decided to go for fried chicken.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to try the chicken, yeah? Nadia, again, it's
Was
a
there a
cluttered
gap in the
market.
market?
It's a cluttered market.
Honestly-
You could have been making the best burgers, but was
Yeah.
it good enough to commercialize and really make a business out of it?
We put our best efforts forward, and I'd say there's a few things with my particular experience that impacted the business. I had just gotten pregnant at the same time as I decided to start the company. So it was a real struggle to balance motherhood with a full-time business, especially F&B, which is 24 hours. If you know F&B, and me coming from that background, I know what it means. And then I also did it single-handedly. I didn't have, I had a partner in the beginning, and we kind of split ways early on. So I was kind of left with a lot of responsibilities I wasn't prepared to take on board at the time. And also, I didn't really have a helping hand or a community with people around me because although I was coming from an F&B background, my F&B contacts were all from Ireland, not in this region. My contacts for over here were more hospitality based and on that side, more on the hotel rooms and that side. So I kind of stepped into a space which was very like alienating, and I really didn't have my wits about me. I started very, very small. It was very difficult. But what the whole experience gave me is, like, I'm a very persistent person, and it challenged me a lot. So I definitely improved myself and my personal space. Like, it was probably the most defining and biggest space of growth in my life. Which is why I'm sitting here today, being able to speak the way I am and kind of have the confidence that I have as well in it. So I learned a tremendous amount. As far as filling the gap, I believed my gap was enough, as in do a different type of burger and all of that, but I didn't truly have the why and behind it, like the deep, meaningful why. And that's also why I struggled to put as much love into the business that I created, because burgers for me was not as exciting as it could be, and there was no deep connection to the why that I was doing it, which has now meant this is why I'm now exploring other avenues of F&B, and the concepts that I'm creating at the moment definitely have that embedded in them. There's probably a big learning curve. Whatever you take on board, and F&B in this region, I can tell you all, is a completely different ballgame from doing it back home or in Ireland. If I created this concept, because I have opened other concepts in Ireland, making amazing money, and it's almost like you can do it eyes closed. Doing it here was a totally different challenge.
Well, you've got 15,000 outlets to compete with and try and beat them out, right?
It's unreal. Everyone opens. One of the jokes that we said that the part of what we wanted to do was have a humor about our business, and we'd laugh at the fact that every burger joint had to have a comeback sauce or a house sauce, because everyone is just copying the next person and the same person, and it's just repetitive. Yeah. And I can't even say that we didn't fall between those lines, because we have also.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about the challenges, but. It's really, really important to understand, to love what you do, and to put that into everything, so that your motivation always remains, and even when things kind of become more difficult, that you have that love and attention for your business, that you persevere. I'm just persistent. I just don't. I give everything my all, and I find a way. But aside from that, it's really that's a very key question for anyone stepping into that space. Is do you really want to open an F&B business here? Are you prepared to do the amount of work that it takes to do that? Do you have all the resources? And it can be done. I will never put anyone down and say that you cannot do it, because you can do anything you want, but just ask yourself why from the beginning. And
so I ask everybody who comes to me saying, I want to set up a restaurant, and I say, why?
Yeah.
I mean,
Why?
the question is detrimental to my own business.
The answer
but I say
usually
why?
is because everyone does it. It looks easy. Burgers are so simple. That's
Yeah,
why
you
burgers
set up a
is the
store,
most
people will
common
come.
concept because everyone thinks they can do it. They do it at a barbecue every single weekend. Everyone does it everywhere. But do they really understand what it takes to, curate the meat and put it together and then the menu and how to cook and the process of cooking and the process of taking care of your meat along the way? It's a lot.
There's a lot of passion, which also I see amongst all of you. But there's only so much that passion gets you to a point, right? Yes, persistence, but passion with perseverance has to somewhere, someday, hopefully turn into profits. It's a business at the end of the day. Otherwise, the 15,000 minus 2, minus 3, minus 10 will start quadrupling. In the last 4 years, I know you've gone through struggles. You've got one store currently, growing. Cloud kitchens, 7, the awards. It couldn't have been so easy. Sitting here, we're talking in a very casual manner, but it couldn't have been so easy. The number of hours or the turning the recipes and making sure it comes out right, and then hoping it'll sell, and then hoping people will pay, and then hoping people will come back and reorder. So that's the perseverance part, backed by passion. Have you faced financial difficulties? Have you faced recognition of brand difficulties? Have you faced issues or doubtful moments and days where you feel this is not working? What's next, or what shall I be doing? So talk about struggles that you faced in the last 4 years. How have you outcome, and where do you see it going from here? Yeah, go back.
Yeah, I definitely faced a lot of struggles, but I think going to the positive,
It looks good in hindsight, but you've gone through the
you go
rigmarole,
through the
right?
tough times. But what I mean to say is that we should take everything with positivity. So I think this is where my challenge came across, is to maintain my positivity throughout was challenging. And if you come at it with the mindset of turning any negative to the situation into a positive, you will always overcome. And it's not always about financials. So while I may not have always been rewarded back in terms of financials in what in the time and effort that I've put in, I've gained in so many other ways. So I also believe everything happens for a reason. So every failure is, I wouldn't call it a failure. Even the terminology, I prefer not to use failure. Any setback is kind of it sets you up for a bigger comeback, So everything that I experienced through this is extremely valuable information. It means I can be there to guide my next journey, my next step. I can guide anyone else to go through it. You really, really learn in detail and in depth something, you come from the bottom all the way up, so you've seen it all. So, what was the question?
Struggles and the outcome.
Yeah, there are struggles, but if you take on a positive, you will always overcome. Yeah.
I always believe, yes, true, we have lots of struggles to reach our goals. But with the right planning, right mindset, that's where you reach your goals and achieve them. Fundraising was an issue at the start, and then it exceeded even our expectations. At the starting initial project, we put an X amount of money, but then it exceeded to double the amount. Then we were forced to even add up another partner to increase, to add the funds. But in order, I always believe in something. The food is for the people and by the people. And I love to have the people in my team who were never having experience. I teach them, and they're going to be my investment to help me to keep on moving forward. None of my staff, from my right hand to so on, one of my right hands are with the crowd sitting, started the journey with me with nothing, working back home in his country, a completely different field, have never experienced even cutting a tomato. And at this day, the person is closing his eyes and doing things for you as a professional chef, which is, I'm proud of that. And a lot of stuff, the same thing with me. So that's why I believe in it. If you invest on the right moment, right people, right points, that's where you lead in the future plans that coming up. And yeah.
You mentioned right at the start, when you started out, there was a franchise brand, you opened up a few stores, but then you went through a journey of getting out of that and then incubating a brand. Why did that happen? And then what was the intention of getting this new fried chicken brand to market? And of course, the struggles with it.
So, starting with the transition, based on what you have just mentioned, transition is not easy, especially closing down a brand and initiating an entirely new brand. I believe it's more difficult than starting fresh with a brand. And similarly to what Ali mentioned, the people. So our biggest challenge here was that financial decisions and management decisions. How long will it take to develop the brand? What about the existing staff that we have that were working at all these stores? Shall we lay them off? Shall we wait? Shall we cut down cost? Are we willing to bleed for X amount of months until the new brand gets developed? So it's not always easy to make such calls. I mean, you've got people that you're responsible for them, for their families, and it's a high toll, right? It's not easy to make decisions based on purely numbers. Although numbers-wise, obviously, there's always the easiest decision. But then there are these intangible factors that weigh in. And with that being said, I believe the biggest struggle for us was getting out of the franchise. And just to answer your question, the reason why we left the franchise is we don't come like similarly to you guys. We didn't start with F&B experience. We didn't come from F&B experience. So the best and most accessible way is to get a franchise. Exactly, they will give you a safer way. So you will get the know-how. You will understand the documentation, the process, the consistency in the quality, how things are distributed, central kitchen, ingredients, so on and so forth. So once we have learned utilizing the previous brand, and now we feel like we are confident with starting our own, and that's where that transition started taking place and taking shape. Now, the struggles that we actually faced, other than just making the right calls and making the tough decisions, is the brand awareness. Now, it's very early to say because it's just like 1 quarter old business or brand. But the thing that we have learned is that we need to move swiftly. And with that being said, we are focusing on the scalability by utilizing cloud kitchens, as it's the lowest in CapEx, it's the most accessible, it's plug and play most of the time. But my biggest advice, and that's what we have learned, is that you can't just focus on being aggressive with cloud kitchens. If you don't have a physical store that represents the brand, that showcases a brand, the experience. So you want the customers, first of all, to get better sense of your brand, to explore it with all their senses, the branding, the customer service, the human interaction, the menu, so on and so forth. So currently, what we're doing is we're focusing on what we have developed for this quarter. But hopefully, Q1 2025, that's where we'll try to initiate our first flagship.
Okay, very interesting. I'll come to the scalability point, but you touched upon a very interesting point about customer experience. And, coincidentally, that's the thing I wanted to jump on as well. In the world of deliveries, and I know you're delivering all your products and you're preparing the burgers and the chicken with so much, let's say, passion, love, and care, and there's a certain way you want the product to be prepared, to be seen, viewed, smelled, and eaten. How do you ensure, and I'll go back to you first, Ali, how do you ensure that the experience of the customer, not just when he walks into the store and orders a meal and enjoys the burger, but also at the time of, let's say, a takeout or a delivery, how do you ensure the experience sustains and there is qualitative retention of that customer going forward? So if you start, and then we'll, of course, come around.
Well, to my point of view, it's always a continuous training, and control check is very important. First of all, go back to the kitchen, which is by SOPs. We need to make sure. So, and when you have multiple units, you need to have a central kitchen, commissary kitchen, that everything make sure goes out from there. So this is the first point when you make sure. And the consecutive trainings for your staff to make sure, again, like they are preparing the food according to your standards. So once you are sure and you are safe by that part, we come to the customer service. There are different ways. There is a mystery shopper. We do have a mystery shoppers going to our branches, checking them on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, to keep on trying an experience to know whether they are getting the same service and same food. And then we put the tagline of our life on our business, which is what you see, you get even more. So that means not only we don't have any food stylists for our photos. So everything is natural, everything, even though our buns are even having some crinkles on it, it's natural. That's what you see, you're gonna get it, and even better. And then regarding the, like, let's say delivery services. Delivery services for us that we serve burgers, I'll not lie to you. Regardless, whatever you do, you reduce the quality of it 30 to 40%. No offense, but the lazy customer who sits at home, he's gonna, like, bear the consequences of it. Me, myself,
He just wants a burger.
He just wanted on his comfort zone and or beside the TV he wants to order, so you're gonna reduce compromise the quality. And you can never do anything. But regardless, we are working on different aspects, different points, different packaging technologies to make sure it still stays good. Maybe we opening more branches. One of the reasons we are opening more branches to be closer radius to the people's neighborhood, to deliver faster, to make sure the time between the preparation time, then the driver time. So now we have a tablets. We check the tablets. The driver is like, let's say 5 minutes away from us. So we prepare our food during that time gap. So make sure that as soon as the driver comes, grab the food, immediately delivers it to the customer. So the customer don't feel that the bad feeling of the food that received. So we work on these things. If you keep on having all these aspects beside each other on a daily basis, and of course training, you will minimize the chances of people complaining. Well, it's sad that people a lot of times they complain. I'll tell you some funny incident. Once a customer came, write us a review that your chickens are bland. It's the most tasteless chicken I ever ate in my life. My housemaid makes a better chicken than you. Then sometimes the customer's personal preference, but still we consider them, we read them, we try to test them, test the batch. What is that problem with that batch or with all the branches batch? So then we try to improve ourselves to satisfy their customer experience for them to come back. We invite them back to make sure they're having good experience once again.
So you're very hands-on into not just, let's say, production, but also training, SOPs, and you keep visiting all your outlets very often?
Yes, I do visit. As I said, I do train people to be like my standard. I believe that a person who knows the knowledge, he needs to pass on the knowledge to trust the people. If we control our stuff, like we put, let's say, restrictions and hold them, you restrict the creativity of that person. So you need to train them to be a better version of you yourself, because I'm not going to be alive forever. All of us are having an end day. So the person carrying on my work, he needs to know what am I doing. He needs to learn what am I doing and give him so he can carry on the thing. So now when the branches are more, I will not be able, of course, to go. But decision making. I perfected their palates, so their palates are closer to my taste palette, so they can try the taste palettes, the food, and they know that it's my standards, and they move forward.
So I know your next business model is called cloning.
Yeah, maybe.
Not burger cloning, right?
Human cloning.
Okay. Nadia.
Yeah.
Same.
Question was? Yeah.
I forgot.
It was on deliveries and standards?
Customer service, making sure elevated experience, the food is received, consumed.
Echoing exactly what he's saying. I mean, everything he said is, of course, that's what you have to do, and that's the way it is. Whether that happens now is a whole different case, and you have to be there all the time, and you have to consistently be checking or you have to have the right person in place to make sure that it's taken care of. But I'm someone who believes more, and my business is particularly stronger at the customer experience in person, and we believe more in that. So I'm not someone. I've never really pushed the delivery section of my business. It's not something I'm keen to do. We are in cloud kitchens, but it's I choose to open other locations. So we're in Global Village and we're in Miracle Gardens, and we actually actively take part in events. So while we don't always have a physical store location, we move around a lot. We do pop-up kind of concepts a lot. We go to the people because that's what's going to deliver them the best version and experience and the brand and meet the brand. So when you deliver it like that, there's a whole different experience that you get. You also get to interact with the customer, and the same way he trains his number one, his number two, we also train our customers, our
You got to train the
employees,
customers also, by the way.
yeah.
I often
to say
that.
the right thing. No, we really train them with their customer service and experience to understand from our point of view exactly what we want the customer to feel and how we want them to feel leaving. And so the reason why we've always maintained, I think for 3 years, we were always, I think 4.9 on Google ratings. We really made it very, very high. And as soon as we started expanding, that started dropping.
Yeah.
And that's because, you know, do you have the number twos in place to make sure that that happens? And you cannot create exact clones of yourself, and you can't be everywhere. And me being a mom and not having those trustworthy people, I found it very hard to find the right people, especially in operations. I found in many other parts amazing people, but I unfortunately never managed to find that person for operations to do things the way I do.
Do you see yourself jumping back and forth from the production line to the service section?
I was doing that for the longest time, and it was, you know, something I didn't want to do. But actually, I do love it. So every time when I get back, it's like a love-hate relationship with, I want to be there because I want to get everything done really, really well and the way I like it. But at the same time, I don't want to be stuck there because I will get stuck there.
You can't grow otherwise.
Yes, exactly. So that kind of thing. So I've actually taken a decision to keep the business smaller, not look for a lot of expansion, to keep the quality more intact, and to look for different ways of expanding the business that also give back more to me and also allow me to do other things. So it was a conscious decision to kind of minimize what we're doing and how many outlets and things that we open up and how we go to the customers. We work a lot closer with schools and being at their events, and I would say on a monthly basis, we do 8 to 12 events. So we're far more busy in that side, and that's every single month. And that's a bigger part of our business. But that then allows me to control the quality in our restaurant and also expand more on catering. I have other concepts that I'm developing, other catering things. One is called The Next Chapter, which is fitting to my next step. So the next chapter, which is a catering business that I'm focusing on, and then evolving other sides of F&B that I have more experience in and I can be more creative with.
So next year, 3 new brands, we talk about them, yeah?
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay. Behind the scenes. Customer experience, you mentioned you've got into cloud kitchens, you're cooking up fried chicken and serving that through. Is that the best way to serve fresh, hot fried chicken as you want your customers to see it? I'm not against delivery, I'm just asking a question there.
It is an interesting question, nevertheless, and the answer is yes. So according to what we usually observe, is that the brand or a concept focuses on the quality of the food, and then if everything is well, stage 2 comes delivery. What we have done is we kind of reverse engineered it. So, as you rightfully stated, is that chicken is a very delicate, very sensitive product when it comes to delivery. Timing, holding time, delivery time, so on and so forth, condensation within the box based on the packaging that you're using, everything needs to be engineered to the smallest detail. And luckily, because we have taken this into consideration from the beginning, all the way from the R&D section. So we have come up with some sort of a coating, and I can proudly say that we have worked with talented minds who assisted us on this. So the chicken coating that we currently have, you could say it's a bit hydrophobic. And with that being said, when it comes to delivery, it can last way longer. Even if there is a bit of condensation within the packaging, it's not really affecting the chicken coating itself. And taking delivery as our number 1 priority, that's what we wanted to decide on working for first. Once that has been done, then what kind of elements and the kind of combinations that we can do that they can be combined together when it comes to delivery, and the type of packaging that it can group everything together seamlessly and effectively.
So you found a very key gap. Serving good chicken, fried chicken, crispy, crunchy, most of the times, hopefully, which is not the case with your so-called competitors up the line or lower the line, right? So that's the gap that you felt was missing. That's what you wanted to plug in.
That's the gap. So
Delivery
the
first.
gap that we wanted to fill are three folds. Fold number one is, as I mentioned before, is the ingredients and focusing on the local produce as a local-based brand, homegrown brand. Number two is delivery focused. We understand the market. We were born here, we were raised here. We fully understand how things are going and how are the developments happening in the market. So with that being said, we can always be one step ahead because forget that we are business owners, we are also consumers. So what issues do we face in the market? That is what we focus on from a business perspective. And number three is the pricing. So we are homegrown, focusing on quality and keeping it consistent, focusing on delivery, and focusing at the same time on the affordability and accessibility to the masses.
Well, lovely. Guys, I'm going to open the floor to anybody and everybody who wants to jump in and relieve me of my duties for the next 4 minutes. But congratulations. And I look forward to having a chat after this one-on-one. And there's much more to be done, much more to be achieved. So keep filling the gaps. I know struggles are there. All of us have them. But you're all winners here. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
Anybody wants to relieve me here of any Q&A questions?
They're all this side. All the questions coming from this side today.
Hello, good afternoon, panelists. So the question is for all of you. 3 top advice for somebody who want to become a successful restaurant entrepreneur in UAE.
Ooh. Questions not to me.
3 top advice? I mean, realistically, you need to have kind of everything perfect. You need to have the planning in place. It means the finances, to the customer service experience, to the food, the menu. Your full product creation has to be really well thought out. You have to understand that. And then there's the to market, you know, all fully thought out from experienced, successful people. You know, you take on mentors, you take on people who have experience, you really work with people who really know what they're doing. You don't step into this kind of not knowing. You really get the good advice or solid advice from people around you or wherever you can gather it from to make sure that you're guided every step of the way. So I think that's kind of one part that I would always really focus on so that you have the best step forward. And that's your finances too. The next is your own personal mindset and your own dedication to it. So where do you see yourself as a leader? How do you position yourself? Are you ready to take that on? How are you going to set up your company? You know, there's the company itself, and then there's you driving that company, and they have to kind of, there has to be an amazing synergy between those two. There has to be consistent motivation. There has to be support for when you fall down, and there has to be motivation to get back up and overcome challenges. So where are you kind of positioning yourself there? Set yourself up for success if you kind of put a few things into place there. And then I think the third advice is, again, it's always just mindset. So from anything that you believe is negative, you have to find a way to turn it into a positive, and then you gain momentum and you keep on rolling in going forward. But with anything, fear is probably the least of your worries. It's always just start, because you will figure it out along the way if you have all of that in place. Yeah.
Panelists want to chip in on that?
Apologies. Oh, you want to add? Sorry. So one point to add here is also, and this is very important, and I think what makes us homegrown brands stand out from the international brands, or let's say the more corporate-based brands, is that at the end of the day, your customers are technically your investors. If no one is buying from you, you will fail. That's it, period. And with that being said, taking the customer's feedback very seriously, regardless of the channel of delivery. but taking that seriously, being very quick with the response on whether any investigation that needs to be done, any adjustments need to be made. That will keep what keeps you basically ahead in the market.
Well, I'll tell you something. I do lots of consultancy for lots of hotels, restaurants around the world, and UAE as well. And I have one single rule: consistency, consistency, consistency. If you keep this three always at the tagline of your business line, that's the key of your success. And I can guarantee you, you will never fail. Because most of the brands who are failing, when they get greed of the money, when they reach the money perspective, they started reducing quality. The consistency comes down. They try to cut costs. So always be true to yourself. Always keep your consistency on, and that's the key of your success.
Well said. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks to you.